Hi guys, Coach Paul here with AG Thrive. Welcome back to another Thrive video, and today we're talking about how to talk to your teen about depression. So I work with many families, and often parents come to me and ask, I'm not sure if my child's depressed, I'm not sure what's really going on. There seems to be some problems at school, his grades aren't the same, he's kind of isolating, he or she is maybe acting out in ways they normally wouldn't. And they're just really irritable and angry all the time. So if you are wondering about if your child is struggling with depression or maybe something's going on that just seems a little off, here are some quick tips to identify whether your child or teen is struggling with depression and how to best to talk to them about it. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about is some of the warning signs for teens with depression. Now, some parents really find it difficult to identify what's typical teen behavior and what's maybe something more serious like depressive behaviors. And typical teens are often can be irritable, or they don't want to talk, or maybe they go to the room, or they spend too much time online. And that's pretty normal for most teens going through adolescence. But where it starts to get a little concerning for parents is when they see their teen doing things that they normally wouldn't do. Maybe being really irritable or really angry with them, or being really snappy in ways that they normally wouldn't. Or maybe changing a group of friends and hanging out with a different group of friends that's not their normal group. Or maybe they are isolating and spending too much time online or too much time in their room. And if you see any of these signs routine, really want to be available to talk to them about it. You want to know what's normal for your child. You want to know what their normal patterns are. And as your parent, you're pretty aware of what's normal behavior. But in terms of children or teens who are struggling with more depression, it's really just kind of irritability, anger, some of these, some tired, even some aches and pains that really have no real medical explanation. These are typical warning signs of depression in adults, and for teens, they often mimic adolescent behavior. But really knowing your teen and knowing what's normal for them and what's not normal for them will help you identify if your teen is struggling with some more depressive symptoms. So now maybe you've identified that your teen is struggling with something a little more than just typical teen behavior, that they might be struggling with some depressive symptoms or feelings. So how do you talk to them about it? Well, one of the things that I recommend parents do is really be available for their kids. And firstly, you really just want to validate them and show that you are available to them whenever they'd like to talk. But don't really pressure them, because teens, when they're feeling down, when they're feeling depressed or anxious, they typically often will not outright say how they're feeling. And so a lot of times parents feel frustrated because they don't really know what their teen is thinking, feeling, or what they're struggling with. So you want to be available to them and maybe finding some really neutral spaces that you can talk to them, whether it's on their terms or when they feel like talking. Maybe it's during time where you're cooking dinner or you're driving home from school. Really finding some times where you could talk with your teen and say something like, I noticed that you're really struggling at school lately, or I noticed you haven't been your normal self. I'm here if you'd like to talk whenever you're ready. And how your teen responds to this can go a variety of ways. If they open up to you, you have an opportunity to really validate their feelings and make sure that they're heard. And saying things like, you know, I can tell this was really hard for you, and I can tell that you really want to do well at school, but you just don't feel like your normal self. Or it must be really difficult to not fit in with your friend group anymore. I wonder if we could talk about it. Saying things like this is really validating for your teen and makes them feel heard and will help them open up to you even more. Another thing you can do, as I mentioned before, is as you find a time to talk to your teen, say on a car ride home from school, you could say something like, you know, I'd really love to hear about how things are going, because I noticed that you're just a little sadder or a little more worried or frustrated lately, and I just wanted to check in with you. Maybe we could talk on the way home, and how about this? By the time we get into the driveway, we'll change the subject. But from now until we get home, maybe 10, 15 minutes, we can have an honest discussion about how you're doing and if you'd like to talk. And then when we get home, we'll change the subject. This helps the teen know that this conversation is not going to last forever. That they can open up, that they can feel heard and valued, and not feel like they're backed into a corner and they have to answer a barrage of questions. It really helps put the conversation on their terms so that they can feel heard, valued, and that they have a way out if they don't feel like talking anymore. All right, so you started to talk to your teen about their depression or about what you feel may be going on with them. And one of the things I might also encourage you to do is to try not to talk them out of their depression. Oftentimes when teens are opening up and they're just starting to say how they feel, it's really easy to go into problem-solving mode as a parent because you love your children and you want them to feel better, you want them to feel healthy, happy, and you want them back to their normal self. But oftentimes this is a really confusing time for teens and they just don't know how to sort through their feelings. So really encouraging them and saying things like, I can tell this is really bothering you, or I'd love to listen, tell me more, I'm here to help in any way I can really help them feel heard and that you're not trying to talk them out of their depression, because oftentimes while their thinking or their feelings may not make sense to you, it feels very real for them. And so having a time and a space where they feel heard and valued and not talked down to or not criticized can really go a long way in furthering the conversation and making sure that you're aware what your child's tendencies are, if they're being their normal self or if they're acting a little different, can also help you identify what's the best way to approach them. And now that you know the warning signs and now that you know some of the approaches to talking to your teen about their depression, you can really go a long way in helping them feel better, happier, healthier, and continuing to keep the conversation going in positive ways. So I hope this information was helpful to you. Please subscribe to our AG Thrive YouTube channel. Check out some more resources at ag-thrive.com, and we'll see you here next time. Coach Paul here with AG Thrive. Take care.